And there is a narrative that I keep seeing stated that says she actually initially alleged that it was her and a friend that this happened to. And Susie is not telling that side of the story.
Why would I tell that? There was no basis to it. I kept saying, were you alone? Did this happen in the cafeteria? Did you have a friend with you? And she has a few little best friends. And she goes, She was going along with everything. She was just
saying yes to everything you were saying.
And as normal families would do, I'm texting information back and forth like, hey, could it be this? You want a sounding board.
Right.
Could it be
makes
this?
so much
and you
sense,
don't think that's
Susie.
going to be used against you in the
and now
future.
Joni and Rachel and everybody is saying, now, okay, keep going.
Well, the reason it doesn't even matter is, I'll get to that, because none of that, the whole school thing doesn't matter. There's a reason the police closed that case.
Mm-hmm.
So we have some, we don't really have any information. We go to the school.
In what month or so is this in 2020?
She told us in November. So
November of,
I don't know the exact date, but November.
Okay.
So when she tells me about this, I asked some questions, and then I immediately called. He's going to pull out his timeline.
Yeah, I've got the actual timeline.
I love
here.
it.
So I immediately called Joni, and I said, okay, so I'm going to go to the police because Jonathan hadn't come home from work. And so she said, no, hold on. I'm going to come with you to the school tomorrow, and we'll talk to the teachers.
I want you to just share with the audience your side of that story.
Okay, so in 2020, there was an incident that took place at my granddaughter's school. Mm-hmm. And Susie called me, and she said, will you go down to the school with me? And I said, absolutely. So we went together to the school. We reported it to the school. And my granddaughter had told her mother that a little boy had touched her and her friend inappropriately. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so that was never written about, that I went with her, or that there was another little girl involved. And so Susie and I reported it to the school, and I talked to my granddaughter, and Susie had asked me to ask her what happened. And so I did, but my granddaughter didn't want to talk, so I didn't push it, but I was fully supportive of her. So that happened in 2020, and a police report was filed. Okay.
And you saw the interview. She didn't tell me that you went down with her to the school or anything like that. So
Right. I didn't get to see the whole interview, but I absolutely went to the school with her.
Okay.
So I immediately called Joni, and I said, okay, so I'm going to go to the police because Jonathan hadn't come home from work.
You're like ready to act.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the first time I've heard this, the way it's spoken. Mm-hmm. And I just want to say to the audience, everybody's always trying to figure out who's lying. We've talked to them privately off the record. We've listened to almost every single word out of their mouths this whole time. Unlike other interviewer, we listened to every single piece of information from everybody pretty much. Right. And they say the same thing every time in the same way. Mm-hmm. And so meaning like, it's not scripted. You're just telling your story. Mm-hmm. But I'll just say on that point right there, I wasn't quite aware that you told Joni, who was your mentor at the time. And this is another thing. People will say this. I'm going to just head this off already. People say, why did you listen to her? Why didn't you go to your husband first? Why did you call Joni? Well, because the way that family, if I can say this, mm-hmm. the way that family has been doing things, the Daystar family, the Daystar legacy, the Lamb family is, since Marcus has been gone, if I could say, you can correct me. Sure. Your mom is basically runs the house, runs the head of the family. She's the CEO of Daystar. She's the CEO of the family, and she's the trusted source for spiritual covering. Sure. And so with the girls, and especially you, because you actually talked to her and trust her, you would reach out to her about everything quickly.
Oh, immediately.
And so when you text her, so many people might say, well, why don't you just, but that was the society or the culture that was created for you.
And that's not even weird.
Anyways,
that's not even weird to go to your
weird.
mother or mother-in-law and be like, this is happening.
And you said, I'm going to go to the police. And she said, no, which I'll just say, there is a necessity to report. Right. It's a legal issue. Right. You have to report. Instead, and this is, I know you're going to hit timeline here, but I just got to say, this is something we see over and over in the last year. Churches, pastors, leaders literally think they can figure out this SA issue. They take the play. They're like, oh, no, we'll figure it out. Oh, we'll go investigate at the school. It's like, stop it. You have no idea what you're doing. And most of you just end up covering up for the issue. And if you're pure-hearted, you're not really wanting to cover up, you mess it up. So it ends up getting covered up, even if you didn't mean to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
So she says, we'll go to the teachers. The next day, it was very hard. And to give context onto why I called Joni, just quickly, we would go sit in coffee shops for hours. We were on the phone for hours. She would tell me, this is how you manage the family crisis, all the relationships. Every single thing I did was her telling me what to do. Every single thing, all the time. So it was the most natural thing. Anyway, so when she says that, Jonathan comes home. I'm upset. I'm just crying in bed because, I've got the worst news. But my kid seems okay. The next morning, she tells Jonathan to bring our daughter over so she can hear the same
Joni
details.
says, bring your daughter over to the house. I want to hear from her.
Yeah, she does. So I bring her over to her house, and
because on the interview with Marcus Rogers, she said they wanted me to talk to her.
There was an incident that took place at my granddaughter's school, and Susie called me, and she said, "Will you go down to the school with me?"
The next morning, she tells Jonathan to bring our daughter over so she can hear the same
Joni
details.
says, "Bring your daughter over to the house. I want to hear from her."
Yeah, she does. So I bring her over to her house, and
Because on the interview with Marcus Rogers, she said they wanted me to talk to her, which that interview
I
is
wanted her
deleted
to
now.
talk to the police. I wanted her to talk to a detective.
yeah, so my mother, she wanted to basically hear from our daughter
Mhm.
what had happened, what she had told Susie. And so I took her over to my mother's house. Not thinking much of it, obviously. When I did that, she went to speak to her alone. And again, I wish I had been there just because I wanted to see how the
understand.
conversation went. But I
Yeah.
just like,
You
just
trust your mom.
trusting son.
Why would you not trust your
Like
mom
my
at
mom
this
wants to
point?
hear from her, so I let her go into the house. I remember I was waiting in the car, and she speaks to her. She basically says that she confirms everything that she told Susie about the abuse, and then we go.
Joni says
Wait,
to
so
you,
she does confirm everything
yeah.
she told
Yeah,
you.
that's what
So
she
it
said.
wasn't. This was before she was like.
Yeah, there's no
wouldn't
family
say
she
member.
anything.
said on the Marcus
Yes.
Rogers interview,
Yeah.
she said
That
she
already
wouldn't
wouldn't
talk.
tell anything.
She said she
say
wouldn't
anything.
talk.
The child
If
confirmed
if somebody has that full interview downloaded,
Oh my
please
gosh.
send it to us,
Yeah.
because I remember on that interview,
She
If
said
I-
by the time she talked to her, she
she
had
was already shut down.
she didn't
basically
say
That's a
anything.
lie.
And I talked to my granddaughter, and Susie had asked me to ask her what happened. And so I did, but my granddaughter didn't want to talk. So I didn't push it, but I was fully supportive of her. So that happened in 2020. And
Heard anything?
That's
but
a
she
lie.
told us that she confirmed everything that she had told Susie about the abuse.
And that's why she went to the teachers, because she had that information.
And I
That's
have
why
to
she
say,
came
you
with
guys
us.
understand why this man feels like he has to record every conversation,
Yeah.
because literally you can't get a straight story out of these people.
Yeah.
Keep going.
So the
Oh,
three of you
sorry.
go to the school after
Yes.
that. The three of you go.
I meet them at the
Us-
school. Yeah.
We three. My mom and I ride with my daughter. She meets us there.
Yeah.
So we're all there together.
Because she wanted no, cross contamination of information. She was like, "Let me handle this, Susie." And I said, "Yeah." I met them at the school. The teachers were so peaceful, so loving, so kind. They weren't threatened, weren't defensive. And of course, I didn't see Joni as there was not a suspect in the family at this
course.
point.
Of
So
course,
I didn't
you
think
trust her.
anything.
Of course.
We talked to the teachers, and it was really good. And it's not funny, but the crazy part is that our little girl wanted to go to her class. She wanted to stay there.
So she wasn't nervous
She
about
wasn't
being in
afraid
school.
to
She
be
was
there.
desperate to be there. She loved it. She had her little friends. And so Jonathan and I were like in a bind.
Yeah.
What do we do? So the meeting is over. The teacher assured us she's safe. We watch her. There's no mail here.